We are back at it again, Onslaught family. So, we're just coming off the Rubicon GT3 over the weekend. We had Thousand Suns in the podium, we had Elves in the podium, and we had Imperial Knights. Is the meta shifting in the right direction or in the wrong direction? Challenger cards, too. Stay tuned and locked in as we talk about it. Also, we have a wonderful special guest today. Elfy, how you doing today, brother?
Good, yourself?
Doing well, doing well. How you doing, Riegel? How's everything going with you?
I'm doing great.
You still have a lot of opinions today? We're going to need it.
Oh, I have many opinions. We did our last show 2 weeks ago, and then a little something happened the Wednesday after. So, we lots of opinions to be had.
There's been a lot of change up. The meta's been shifting, right? A lot of new things been coming out. I think the Ynnari nerf kind of helped out Athari, seeing people running with kind of Warhol. So we're going to talk about a lot of things today. And of course, we're going to interview the man himself who did a fantastic job at Rubicon GT3 over the weekend in Orlando, Florida, Mr. Elfy himself. So before we start breaking that down, Riegel, you want to get into anything before we talk to the man in the myth, the legend?
Well, just to piggyback off what you said about Ynnari, what's the old saying that strife, or innovation is the result of strife or something like that?
Yes, indeed.
When what's been working breaks, you're forced to find something else that works. So,
but we all knew that, and Elfy knew that too. Like me and Elfy have been talking about this for a long time. We all knew that Ynnari was going to get to a place of irrelevancy, and other things were going to end up taking their slot.
Look, I was expecting just a strat to be changed. Good god damn. They got the hive guard treatment, man.
Triple nerf.
No, it was like a sextuple nerf because the strat alone got triple nerf. Then your rain got nerfed, points got nerfed. Oh my god.
Yeah, it was rough.
So
it was rough. Mr. Elfman, you want to expand on what we're talking about?
Yeah, I think they overdid it like usual. There was a world where they could have nerfed them and they were still viable to, at least be somewhat playable. Unfortunately, they upset too many people, and this is the world they have to live in now. And,
yeah.
But yeah, they got 3-4 hits. Between lethal intent, your brain, all the points. Just it was too much for most to overcome. You might see some Ynnari running around, but it's mostly people trying to piece together something to see if they can make it work or not. I don't know if they'll be able to. They might be able to, but they're not going to be, in the upper tiers. They're probably going to stay, down around the mid. They probably got 2-1 or 3-2. At GTs and stuff like that. I think they're going to struggle to get to 3-0 and 4-1, 5-0 at events, and unless they get a reduction in their points again on the units they need, or maybe some rollbacks on some of the nerfs they got hit by on the next slate.
Now, before we start going into talking to you and interviewing you, right? How do you feel like the meta's kind of shifting out right now with the new deck that's come out, the new match play 2025, right? How do you feel like the meta's shifting out? Do you see any differences? Do you see any new dogs on the block that are really doing well, or you feel like it's just the same 6 months ago?
No, it's definitely going to change. Every 6 months it shifts. I think that it's shifting more towards a higher toughness, higher armor meta. You got a lot of the new Chaos books come out. They got the really powerful princes in their lists that you're going to see a bunch of. You see a bunch of really strong transports, especially rhinos and some of the detachments. So you're going to see a bunch of those. Transport spam like back in the day. Both knights dropping, so you're going to have that. While their toughness is coming down, them having new books is going to want people to play them again. They're going to get excited, so you're just going to see more showing of the two knight chapters because of that. Everyone likes something new, something flashy. Try to find the edge they can get wherever they can get it. So I think that you're going to see a lot more toughness and armor, coming down the pipeline as these drop. Grey Knights is coming soon. You're going, they have some durable units as well. So, I think in the next, 3 to 6 months, you're going to see a shift to higher toughness and bigger models like that. And so it's going to cause everyone to have to pivot as well to be able to deal with those situations.
I love it. No, I love that. You want to expand on that, Riegel?
Yeah, slightly. You're right about the being new knights, new both. I think this Saturday is actually the official release for Chaos Knights.
It is.
So, and then
people are going to get their first taste at my RTT this weekend too. So,
yep. And I think one thing you didn't mention, but in the vein of high toughness, CSM, just generic CSM, Princes getting the loan op treatment that the Dark God Chaos factions got, as well as Disco Lords, another high toughness thing. Just gonna get. And then, of course, Death Guard being a bit, custodian level tough on the table. I think you're right that it's going to be vehicle heavy with, T like 8+ quite common. Something else that's not quite thought of as toughness, but let's not forget Drukhari Ravagers are 75 points now. You're getting 225 points for 9 Dark Lances. That's
crazy.
That is. Yeah, so like even Drukhari, already a vehicle heavy army, now has more, or the potential for more anyway. So yeah, although good news, General, this if there was ever a time to bring the haywire, we are coming into it. Is this the window Harlequins need to jump back in the meta?
They're gonna need an actual detachment rule before that actually happens, because they have. No, stop it. Just stop it. Don't do it.
You can take 1,000 points of them in the wager detachment and play them over there.
You still have to take Drukhari, and you're never winning the wager. So, and they only did it in one direction, which I dislike. They allowed Drukhari. You can run it like pure Drukhari, but you can't do it in the opposite direction. So, no.
Well, it's in Drukhari. But no, yeah,
Indeed.
So, Tyranids have haywire on the shot cannons on Hive Guard, and there's a reason that a lot of people probably didn't even know that was an option, because it's also awful.
Yeah, but no, I agree. They should be really good right now in this meta.
But yeah, no, we can.
I just wish they were anti-monster. Just give them anti-monster and anti-vehicle.
Stop it. Demons and Tyranids have been picked on enough. Okay, leave us alone. No other faction has. What I guess maybe the Demon Primarchs are monsters, and that's it.
Yeah. There's a lot of.
Is the Avatar and the Incarn a monster?
Yeah.
Sick.
So are the Wraith Lords.
Really?
They're not vehicles. No, they're monsters. So they can't tank shock or anything like that. They get the worst of both worlds.
Yeah, you see. So
I sure do. Right. But yeah, let's go ahead and go over your run at the event.
All right.
Yeah. So talk to us, brother. First of all, congratulations, right? Congratulations to you, man. You did a fantastic job over the weekend. For those of you who are not aware, I don't mean to cut you off, Elfy and Riegel.
No, you're good.
Point out, right? But I just kind of wanted to kind of introduce this and set this up. Over the weekend, we had Rubicon GT3. It was in Orlando, Florida. We had a lot of participants there. Ultimately, I believe it was 41 who came out to the GT. There was a lot of events. Here's my excuses. There was a lot of events going on in the same day, right? So,
as if 41 is a bad number.
Yeah. No, it's absolutely not. Just for my averages, right? So, but it was fantastic. I loved seeing everyone there. Obviously, lots of swag. Shout out. I didn't have the opportunity to give everyone all the sponsors a shout out and things like that. So shout out to all of them, Baron of Dice, Art of War, Almost Functional, and everyone who participated as well. It was great just to see everyone, see how the meta was shifting out, talk to people about the challenger cards and things like that. So we had a great opportunity to have Elfy, attend, and he ended up going XN1, I believe, right?
Yep.
So,
yep.
And ended up coming in third place over the weekend. And please tell the people how you did and how the event was for you.
I was excited as well. I brought something. I didn't get to test it all before the event. I just thought of it last minute, and
did you really not play test it?
I didn't.
You really
That's part of it.
Look, this man is a farseer. He did not need to play test. He knew how it would turn out. He read the room.
Exactly.
Yeah, I changed about 400 points of it. I added in last minute. I never got to test the list beforehand. I just, I was like, it'll either work or it won't, and I just kept that mentality all weekend. So the ones I put in at last minute was the spears, of course. I put in 3-inch shining spears. It's over 300 points in my list right there. And I did it because all the high wound units that I've been seeing, so it's, close combat, it's 10 attacks at flat 3 damage, and anti-infantry, anti-monster 3+ is still pretty good. And it ended up working in multiple of my games that helped out, and I'll explain each one, explain how they benefited me. But, being able to move through walls, 14 to 16-inch movement and then charge through a wall, has some benefits. So round one, I went into Eric, wonderful gentleman. And I wasn't sure what to think. He was playing, I don't know, 100 Guardians, and
yep.
It was a lot of bodies. Yeah. No, it was Guardian host. No Corsairs.
No Corsairs.
No Corsairs. No, it was like I think it was like 3 or 4 defenders and the rest storm, or vice versa. Couple D cannons, couple bright lances, Eldrad, a couple characters. My biggest fear going in that match is I know that he has a strat where if you don't finish the unit, he can take it off the table and completely restore it back to full and put it back into strategic. And so I had to overcommit into each unit so that I didn't have to worry about that. And, it changed my gameplay a little bit, but ended up working out. Honestly, my biggest MVP in that match was the Tempest Launcher Dark Reapers, just because I could, toss a bunch of bullets without seeing you. I took out those Banshees first turn.
Was it a 5-man or a 10-man?
I run 3 5s with a Tempest Launcher.
You're a mean man. 315 of them, good God.
You don't really want to run 10-man Reapers, in my opinion, because it's 15 points more. They put the 10-man tax on them now. Kind of like the Dragons have the 5-man tax. The 10-man costs you 195 for 10, or I can just run 3 MSUs for 95 each or 90 each. But I knew the Banshees would be a problem in his list, so I just targeted him first. I killed all but 1 Banshee before I charged first turn. He had 1 Banshee left on the table, and then after that, it was just a matter of taking him off points. Did some multi-charges so that he couldn't move him and shoot, or he had to fall back, and then lost a turn because now he can't do an action, or now he can't advance onto a point, can't shoot me, with a ton of, shrieking shots. And so that one was just, I kind of had to slow play that one a little bit, just because he still hits on 2s, he wounds on 3s for the entire army because we had the same toughness. And it was just a methodical game of, just slowly clearing one flank and then working my way to the other. So I didn't go too aggressive on that one. In that aspect, I set up the trading pieces like I normally do. My Banshees, my Spears. It's just they're really fast. They get in your face, they tag you, and then the rest of my armor gets in place while they work on those units. So He never did end up reviving any units, so my biggest fear, didn't have to worry about. But it was a good game, though. I think that one was 90-59 in my favor at the end.
Nice.
He just couldn't deal with all the indirect. I mean, it's not a ton, it's 3, but when I'm, wounding on 3s with every shot, and it's just...
That was the first, second
round,
right?
That was round 1.
Round 1.
What detachment are you playing, just so people know?
Yeah.
Oh, I run Aspect Host.
Yep. And I'll put that list in the description section as well for everyone later.
Quick question for you, having a solid handle on that match. How did you feel being ahead about the challenger cards?
I wasn't too worried. Like, the challenger cards are like, you really want them to use the strats, and the strats can hurt you, but the last thing you want them to do is get more points, so I think he didn't get his challenger card until round 3, I do believe, and then he got one every turn from that point forward. And he used it just to score the points whenever he could, which is the right move. There's situations where you want to use the strat, but for the most part, you want to use it as a catch-up mechanic. That's the whole purpose of them. But I guess every now and then, the strat does get you more benefit, like charge your walls or extra 6-inch movement, because then now you can move an extra 6 as a normal and action. So. So there's a couple of them that where the strat maybe is a little bit more beneficial than the 3 points or whatever have you. Just depends on the board state, I think. And where you, if you think you can sacrifice those 3 points to get a better position with the strat, that would make more sense. But I think it's statistically, the points are going to give you a better shot for a comeback.
Quick question, for my curiosity, maybe people who aren't super familiar with the Eldar Codex.
Yeah.
Can you either use the vector star engines or the movement army rule on the bikes on mounted? Do either one of those work?
Star engines requires vehicle keyword, but you can use the +2 movement. That works on any unit in the Codex except Wraiths, unless you're in the Wraith detachment. Other than that, only the vehicles were able to use it. So my Falcon, my Wave Serpent, Viper, and Warwalker would have been able to. And then the rest of them had to use the +2 movement or the turn off Overwatch for mechanics.
To include the Shining Spirits who can all go through walls, so they don't got to go around like other mounted units.
Yeah, and then it's not just ruins; it's models too. So it counts for knights. Because it says, I double checked, it doesn't say when moving through ruins. It just says whenever moving. So if someone puts a big knight, you just drive through it and go to the other side.
Love it.
Because it says measure, ignore all distances, vertically. And that was, another key point for him is that it wasn't just the walls. So people can't block me with them, and you throw a token at them and now they're moving 16 inches flat, shoot some bullets, and then charge up to 12 more inches. So the first turn they have a threat range of, I don't know, almost 40 inches
20.
almost.
Because do they scout or no?
No.
Yeah, so you move 16 and then you 12-inch charge 28.
Yeah, and then they start about 18 inches up the board. So, from the edge are about 40 inches across the board.
I do the same thing with Gene Stealers, who move 8, scout 8, and even without advance and charge, that's 16 plus 12, and then I can throw another D6 on top of it.
Yeah, nice thing is that I run double Banshee, so I usually just screen my walls with Banshees, and they're always like, "Are you putting those on the wall or an inch off?" I was like, "I'm putting them on the wall. You charge them. I don't care. I'll fight first." So I'll fight first one of them, and then I'll fight on death the other one, pop their token, so they're the most likely fight as well. So one way or another, I'm fighting with both Banshees if you charge me first turn.
Yep. It's not too many shenanigans, anime.
I think people forget that elves have more rules than just move when you kill them. like elves, to Lou's point, and yours, elves are still very, very good. And people like you who play methodically know your rules. No, yes, you're an elf and you might die easier than some armies, but if you can make those deaths count, like you said, one Banshee unit fights first, the other one fights on death on a 3-up, you're getting your value, and they're right in your face where your guns are. So like,
Right. And with them being flat 2 and flat 3 damage, and anti-infantry, they're just normally picking up handfuls of guys at a time.
And
you have a
or
ton
going
of
in melee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did pump a lot of damage 3 into this list, so 3 plus. All the bikes are 3, all the Banshee Exarch's 3, we've got a bunch of D6 2. It's just all the Reapers are 3, except they have Tempest launchers. So that came up in my round 3 game. Yeah, he asked me if I had anything that wasn't damage 3 at one point. So.
Does that have anything to do with the 12 wound vehicles or 9 wound characters or anything or 3 wound Terminators that influencing your decision at all?
Yeah.
A little bit, just in case you run across a random brick of Terminators, I have a few options.
Custodians are in shambles looking at this army.
The one I played, the main reason I had Edge there, I'll talk about it a little more later, but he didn't have any mixed units. So the Custodians that give me the most problems are the 3 and 4 wound blended units. This particular player had only 3 wound units, so I just was like, okay, I'll just full send. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I guess going on to your round 2 match. Round 1 was an elf mirror match, elf on elf violence.
Yep. Round 2 was a little bit closer. He's a newer player. He's been playing, I think he's at around 4 months. And he was playing Ultramarines, Gladius. He had about 7 or 8 vehicles. He had, Bobby G, he had 2 Vindicators, 2 Hammer Strikes, I think he was running. He also had Bullet Train, Gatling vehicle, and 2 Dreadnoughts. I think that was all. And then a couple...
Reaper?
Yeah, Reaper. And then he had the 2, I think, Ballistas.
Oh, so he just went all in on the vehicles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, luckily I brought a bunch of high strength and anti-vehicle items for me to have options. His biggest mistake was he went first, I went first. I staged my Serpent behind the ruin, and it caused him to come to a stand where he could advance and shoot, and he advanced both of his dreadnoughts right side by side. They were like bases were touching. Doesn't pick up the Serpent, and then in my turn I got out, turned off Overwatch, put him 1.5 inches off the dreadnoughts, and popped their strat and picked up both dreadnoughts.
By them, I assume you mean fire dragons?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
The dragons jumped out. He popped a strat on them, but it didn't really help too much when you get full rerolls to hit, wound, damage, and I have sustained lethals, and it gets ugly in a hurry.
Yeah. And you've played a couple games into that list, or that army at least, right?
Yeah.
So
Ultramarines aren't that common.
They're not going to be very soon.
I pretty much ignored Bobby for the most part. Like, he was there, but I was just like, he was an afterthought. I was more worried about the vehicles picking up, handfuls of guys. So I picked up the dreadnoughts, and I think the Gladiator turn 2.
Oh my
and
god!
Then Kane charged one of the Hammer Strikes, turn 3, picked up 1.
List too?
Yeah. Just a casual Kane. I only have 2 characters, Kane and an Autarch. So when you draw Assassination, my Autarch's in the Falcon with the Reapers, and so you either have to rip him out of there and kill his unit and kill him, or you have to down Kane, or it's a CP. So you have 3 options.
Elves, man.
So I just took out the biggest threats. The dreadnoughts. I didn't want them locking stuff down. The Gladiator Reaper is probably the biggest threat to me because I have so much infantry and all the sustained hit 2s.
They're just like anti-infantry guns, right? They don't have like a lot of anti-vehicles.
Against infantry, they get sustained 2. The Gladiator Reaper does.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, so he'll oath the infantry target, and then he'll just
And then
fish for
also the next thing
sixes.
for the Lancers to shoot, or the Vindicators.
Yeah.
Because the Reaper will kill the infantry, and then the other thing dies. Yeah.
Yep. So he kept it close. I was a little worried about it. He started spreading out, and my guys had to move to get good lines on him. And there for a minute, I was missing, getting good lines, being able to pick him up, because all my really strong stuff, very situated. Kane was on, almost in his deployment zone, playing with the hammer strikes, and he eventually picked up the serpent. So the dragons were running around. Oh, that's what he reactive moved his character, his captain, I think, and then he was behind a wall, and I forgot he had to reactive move and expose the dragons. He was able to charge the dragons and lock him up until he was able to pick him up. So I lost the dragons, but they'd already done their damage by then. They'd picked up 3 vehicles before he locked them down. So they did their work.
Damn.
Not bad for 10 guys. And then Kane, I got aggressive. I kind of got greedy with Kane, and I split his attacks into 2 different vehicles, and he whiffed all of them into the one. He rolled like 2 1s and a 2 to wound the one hammer strike, and the other one he's like, here's like, I don't know, like 27 damage, and so the other one's just gone.
Just random 27 damage.
Yeah,
just does.
Yeah.
So that one, he kept close. I was 99.85, I believe. Yeah, I think it was 99.85. He kept it close. I told him
the
that.
Cards affect that to keep it closer? Do you feel?
Yeah, that one did, because he was able to score multiple times with the challenge card, and he was always scoring the 3 points, and it was smart of him to keep going after the points. I think there was one time where he might have did the strat because he couldn't score the points for whatever reason. But yeah, I think. Oh, I know what it was. He scored the points instead of using a strat. If he would have used a strat, it would have allowed him to move an extra 6 inches and do an action, which could have kept the game a little bit closer. It wouldn't have got him to win, but it probably would have got him, a few more points. But end of the day, he was really smart what he did. He asked me at the end if there's anything you could do better. I was like, when someone has 10 dragons in one boat, don't put your dreadnoughts touching, because then neither of them will be touching afterwards. But he thanked me for the advice. I said that, he played really clean, really friendly guy. I think Mike was his name, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was a solid game on his part, though. For a new player, I was really impressed.
Nice.
How well he piloted that list, and he'll be doing just fine here soon. I think he ended up finishing like 3-2, I think.
So at this point, you're still on day 1. You're done with
Yep.
round 2 and going into round 3. So the last round on Saturday, right? So you've
Yes.
already been through missions K. You've
Yep.
already been through missions M, and you're
M.
going into N. Correct.
Yep.
N as in November, right? And just so
Right.
everyone's here, I put his list underneath in the YouTube description center, so it's there now, so you can watch it at the same time that we're talking about it. So tell us about round 3, please, brother.
Round 3 is when I ran into the Custodes. I wasn't sure what to expect. I didn't really look at his list too much before the game round got started. I just went over there, talked to him. I was relieved to see no grav tank. I was relieved to see no bikes, and I was relieved to see that all of his models had 3 wounds, and I didn't have to worry about juggling which weapons to fire in what order. I just sent all the three damage weapons first, and then everything else afterwards. And that's like,
no Alaris. Yep.
no Laris. He had his Trajan. In this game, because he didn't have any vehicles, I ended up using my Shining Spears just to screen out his dreadnoughts from dropping in, because they're small units. They can wedge in to like smaller spaces than the big bricks. So I kept them back until turn 3. Once they were down, I just kind of shipped them out into the middle of the board to start doing damage. But I knew with Custodes you have to overcommit, so I just picked a unit and picked it up. First turn he drew Tempting Target, and so I put the left flank no man's land objective marker for his target. Figured I'd bait him out. It did. He came out, to try to get on it. He didn't quite get there. He rolled a low on his advance. So he missed the extended target, and then he exposed his Drax-led Custodes Guard unit. And I put 10 dragons and everything else over there just to overcommit into it. And I ended up picking the whole unit up, character and everything. And then there was another unit near mid that I was able to pick up 1 or 2 bodies off of. And then from there, with all the damage 3 I have, it's just a matter of picking a unit and picking it up. I pretty much did 1 or 2 units every turn. I had too much speed for him to be able to really contend with. I kept it kind of close just because I gave him 1 flank because I didn't want to have to deal with 2 different flanks at the same time. So I just gave him the right side point where he had pretty much 6 guys the whole game. I was able to pick up his girls with my indirect because he ran 2 5-man sisters units. And so I just methodically just sent the bullets in there. It was better to send them in there than set them into the Custodes where they're going to save on 2s anyways. So
Yeah.
I think there was 1 of them left after turn 2. Turn 1 I picked up all but one girl. And then turn 2, I picked up the last one.
Tragic.
And it was horrible. Trajan got charged by about 6 bikes, turn 3,
Oh my God.
which caused some problems with him. He tried to turn off, or I charged him with 1 unit and one of his captains, and he did the all damage reduced to 1. So when I activated the second unit, I ignored all the modifiers when I sent Kane in, and so Kane just did full damage. But I had to bait the strat out with the Banshee first, so that I'd make him use it since I have to use mine proactively instead of reactively. And then once he used the strat for the rest of the turn, then I turned it off with Kane, and he just did his flat a lot damage.
He does,
so,
and it's unique that you're still running them too, right? Like a lot of people have dropped them or not even considered them in this edition, right?
Right.
So really nice to see you running a unique list and sticking to your guns because you've been running what you've been running for the beginning, right?
Yeah,
you've been running
pretty much. When the book first dropped after Index, I ran Warhost 1 weekend. I went 1 and 2, and I've ran Aspect ever since. And Kane's pretty much been on my list for I don't know, last like 2 or 3 months now. I don't think I've taken him out. He's just an anvil. I'd play him a little bit different than most people though. Like a lot of people want to be really aggressive with him and send him up the field, and you can't play him that way. Not with him losing a toughness and you losing fortune. So he's just not as durable as he used to be. He still hits just as hard. He's just not as durable. So I usually stand him behind the ruins near the midfield, and I just leave him there. And I don't need him to win games, but he wins me games.
Yes.
And other matters because now they stay away from the midfield. And we play a game called Come to the Midfield and Play with Kane.
He's scary. He's scary. Just like he's really scary. Just like I tell people all the time. People are like, Angron's dead. But I said, what happened if I just use Angron as a distraction Carnifex, right? I had a really good list. People are still going to fear him. Like, he's not as resilient. He's not as good as he used to be. He still smacks as hard. Like, it's the same thing as Kane. Like, I see Kane on the tabletop. There's not a lot of efficient ways to really deal with him. And if there's screens in front of him and there's other shit to deal with, like Dark Reapers, Fire Dragons, like, he is, like, highest on my priority list, but I can't get through everything else to get to the highest of my priority list, right? I gotta go through everything. I gotta go through Fire Dragons and everything else in order to get to him. So yeah, you use him. I've watched you play with him. You use him very intelligently, very methodically. You know what I'm saying? You kind of play mid-board with him. So.
And there's games where I don't even expose him to stand on the point. I just leave him behind the wall when there's too many threats. But once I start eliminating the threats, then I move him out onto the mid board and I just dare you to come deal with him. Like, he's 5 OC, and if you come near him, he's going to get to you the following turn. So hope you kill him in 1 turn.
Yep. He'll dumpster a unit. Yep. Period. And
Yeah.
before we go into round 4 on the next day,
Yeah.
we're going to do a quick commercial break. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on in that round, brother?
No,
Riegel?
that was a good one. I think that one was 90 to 45, 46 in that one. So three solid rounds for the first day.
Nice. So that concludes N, and then the next day you're going to jump into J and O.
J.
Riegel,
Yep.
do you have any final questions before we go into pay the bills?
Only one for on the topic of the avatar.
Yeah.
How often do you find yourself epic challenging? Like just saying, forget the minions, I want you dead in particular.
Every now and then, not as much as you would think, to be honest. I normally rather take out the unit because if the character's not going to kill me by himself, sometimes it's the unit he's supporting. The character's supporting, and sometimes he makes the unit really powerful, and sometimes. But if the character's vulnerable, then I have used it.
Like
I don't know,
Morgan Ball and ball guns, her dying is quite a blow to that unit.
Yeah. Or if I'm fighting first and going in against a Space Marine captain that hasn't popped his once per game ability, then I probably take him out, because the last thing I need is a bunch of attacks with Dev and the Cane.
Same with like Chaos Lord, stuff like that.
You have a fan. I've died to Elfy and Fire Dragons. If 2 vehicles are in line of sight, they die. Shout out to Daniel. I do apologize for getting it up late, but apparently on the teddy bear, they asked where you were touched, and it was everywhere. Crayon everywhere.
It's not a teddy bear, it's a dreadnought. It's a vehicle.
It's a dreadnought.
So I get rerolls. Got it.
Exactly.
Yeah, everywhere. Exactly. Everything's on fire. But no, that was because in Tyranids, I don't use Epic Challenge. I use this Assassination Beast from Vanguard, which makes my entire unit precision. So
okay.
Which not quite, it's about equal to Kane, just different. So I was wondering if you ever just were like, you know what? I'm tired of you in particular buffing this unit. Go away.
There are times more so if I draw Assassinate and I can't get to one of your other characters and it's the last chance I have, I'll do it. But normally they're not buffing the unit enough for me to care, and I'll either just sweep Kane's 12 attacks into the unit and probably pick up most of the unit. If they're 2 wound, and a lot of times it's 2 wound. You're not going to run into big bricks of 3 wound models. So if it's a big unit, it's just a sweep profile because they made it like strength 8, 2/2 now. So now it most likely wounds on 2s instead of 3s. So they just made it a lot more functional as far as that goes. But normally I just sweep, because after the sweep, a lot of times it's just a character anyways, and then I don't have to use the CP because next turn I have precision.
Precision. I call precision the hard way.
Yeah. The precision with extra steps.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all. In my experience, a lot of people forget Epic Challenge exists, and it's like, for most commonly, back when, and I assume here coming up in the meta, Technomancers and Wraiths, people are like, oh, this unsolvable problem.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they can't fall back and do anything. Just kill the Technomancer, and then next turn, kill the Wraiths. Like, it's the 2-step process.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done it against Necrons, but against these matchups, didn't really have that issue. Like none of the matchups I had this weekend really needed me to take out the character, because I didn't fear the character that much. They were more annoying than anything.
Yeah, and I think of again, relevant meta threats like the Lord of Contagion leading 6 Death Round. Yeah,
that's a different story.
I think, or like a Blade Champion leading 5 or 6 Wardens. Like stuff like not like a, I don't know, a Hospitaller leading 5 Retributors. Sure, the Retributors all the matter. But I was just curious of your experience with it.
Yeah, it's more so to get the secondary if I have it, or if I just. Wraith is a good example, because the last thing you want them to do is have all their neat little I'm not dying abilities.
But man, no, that's the only question I had. Just curious about that.
Yeah.
All right. Before we continue on with Elfy, we're going to go into a quick commercial break, pay the bills, and we'll be right back. Now with a word from our sponsor, Baron of Dice. Baron of Dice is your one-stop shop for premium wargaming dice. Our dice are made with premium resin materials and colored dyes. Each die is hand-mixed to the desired result and then carefully swirled with 2, 3, or 4 colors in a silicone mold before being laser engraved with a wicked symbol and finished in a matte or gloss polish. There are no imperfections in our dice, no balancing issues, no micro bubbles or mold lines. This is the difference between. You can, quite literally, feel and hear a difference with our dice. Whatever game you play, whatever style your team or faction rocks, we're sure to have something to elevate your game. With over 500 styles and over 4,000 customer reviews, welcome to the best dice on the planet. Now back to our show. All right. Thank you to everyone. And make sure to support our sponsors, right? They give us the ability to continue to do these videos for you all, right? That allows me to actually feed Riegel and maybe give Elfy a miniature or two. Because elves are expensive. Games Workshop is expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I saw a meme earlier, and it was a play on The Hungry Caterpillar, the child's book. It said The Hungry Tyrannid by Dan Abnett. I want this.
You're always looking for biomass, man. I get it.
Oh, wait till we get to later in the show. You people are going to find out just how hungry.
Speaking of which, all right, let's get into it. I know Elfie's got to go. He's probably got things to do. And,
there you go.
And places to be. So going into the new day, Sunday, right?
Yep.
You're sleeping or you're not sleeping because you know you're 3-0 going into Sunday. We all know how it is, right? To be a 40K player, you know, going into the new day, you looking like you're going to be on podium. You're playing great. So going into this day, have you already prepared your day into maybe who you might potentially play? Because obviously the tournament organizer did not put pairings up that night, but
yeah, you know, I spent a few times just reloading about, you know,
Yep.
10 or 30 times, just like, who is it?
I got two questions for you.
Yeah.
One, do you sit there like, oh, I'll go to bed at 10:30? Well, I'll check again. Oh, it's 11 o'clock. I better check. Okay, I'll go to bed at 11.
10:30. What are you talking about? I'm talking about like 10:30 to 10:32.
I roomed with him at an event one time, and I was sitting there like on my phone. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Seeing if the events or things loaded." And he's like, "Thomas, I'm the organizer, and I'm talking to you. When would it have gotten uploaded?" Right in front of him.
That's great.
Second question, just this is more my personal curiosity. Feel free to not answer. But do you have any good luck rituals? You know, like sports play. You know, if you're on a streak, you're like, nope, I'm not changing this. I need to win.
Not really. To be honest, like one of my bad luck rituals is usually I go into a game with a plan, and then somewhere around turn 2.5, I deviate, and then around 5, I'm like, what went wrong? And it's usually because I deviated from the original plan I had. It's usually custodes. Like I go in saying, I'm going to overcommit to pick up this unit, because if not, then one guy's going to run around, and he's going to run around like an idiot doing actions, and there's nothing I can do to stop him now because he's hiding. You know, I stayed focused this last custode game, luckily. I definitely, you know, to be honest, I was not wanting either of the T-Suns into round 4. I got the matchup I wanted. I was fine into either Riley or into Garrett. I got Garrett. So when I seen the pairing, I relaxed a little bit because I felt like I had a good game into this matchup just because it's elves. And, you know, I played elves round 1. All my indirects seemed to work pretty good there.
Except for those bombers.
We'll talk about the bombers later. That's a round 2 issue. Round 1 went about as well as it could have for me. He had his Viper or Venom with the Lilith in it was too far forward by about an inch. I was able to get line of sight on it with my tank, and my 5-man Reapers and Autarch unit. So that vehicle transport was no longer a vehicle transport after shooting phase. Yeah. I got first turn. My striking scorpions. I played hyper aggressive in this one. Turn 1. My scorpions ran forward, turned off Overwatch, so the bikes didn't overwatch them. I ended up picking up 3 Reavers with them. I got a long charge, so after I killed the bikes, I was able to consolidate into one of the Scourge units. I was able to, he put the Kronos, I think it was. He put Kronos and another Venom on the wall of the other building. I got a long charge on the Shining Spears, and they went through the wall and through the units and hit them all. But I put all the attacks into the Venom. I didn't care about the Kronos. But I had to take the Venom out before it went around and did Venom stuff. So I killed both of them. I'd killed all of Lilith's unit with indirect, and I put Lilith down to 2 wounds. I advanced the Banshee unit up to charge the Scourge that were behind that wall. And when I charged, he heroic with Lilith. I popped their Fight on Death. I fought with 4 out of the 5. He didn't kill the Exarch with Lilith. He killed all 4 of the regular girls. 1 didn't fight on death. 3 did. I picked up Lilith with them, and then the Scourge got 2 random wounds onto the Exarch, and I failed both saves. So the Exarch died because the Scourge in close combat.
Wow.
Which is
did it fight on death?
Just it was 5 Scourge picked up the Exarch because the rest of them all died from Lilith. And then he picked up the Scorpions and shooting. Maybe he didn't bring the Bombers till turn 3. I'm trying to think, because I feel like he didn't bring him until turn 3 because I didn't have anything. He didn't really have a good place to put him where he could shoot. Turn 2, I walked Kane out onto the midpoint. So it had been turn 3. He brought the Bombers in. I did not get the Reapers and the Autarch back into the boat turn 2 or turn 3 because I went for top 3. I did not get them back in. I had to get the Dragons back in their boat. And he shot everything off one of the Bombers at the Reaper unit and picked up 3 models. And then the Reapers reacted and moved back into the boat. He failed to assassinate because that was the character he's trying to kill. My turn, I used Kane's strat to throw his sword. After I put one of the Bombers to 7 wounds, I popped the strat to throw Kane's sword. I hit, I wounded, he failed to save, he took flat 8 damage, and the Bomber blew up. So I
know you didn't, but I have PTSD from oops, did you fail this AP5 save? Well, here's 8 damage. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I got PTSD flashbacks. He took 8 damage. It's fine. Whatever. We can move on.
So luckily it didn't blow up. I had 1 Shining Spear survive his last shooting phase, and I put it like within an inch of both Bombers. First one didn't blow up. I put with all my Reapers, I put the second Bomber to 3 wounds. I was like, all right, I feel pretty confident with my Shining Spear going into that guy. It's 4 attacks, whatever. Kane had moved up to try to get onto his point. I was just a little short from getting onto his backfield objective. And I charged a Bomber with the last Shining Spear. Landed 3 hits, 1 dropped, landed 3. I wounded once out of the 3 on the 3+. And luckily he failed to save, took exactly 3 damage. The Bomber blew up.
What a gentleman.
And and so both Bombers they survived half a turn because they came on his turn and he didn't get to use them again after that.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I was able to remove.
If I hear you correctly, that was all Fire Dragon free?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was just Reapers. The Reapers ignore the modifiers to hit. So I was hitting on 3s and wounding on 3s with all the Reapers into them. And his next turn, turn bottom of 3, he charged Kane with both Cabalites. I kept overwhelming force. I was like, I'll hold it because maybe he doesn't move off the points, and I scored him on my turn. So he
Cabalites?
Yeah.
Cabalites, you said?
Yeah. So he'd moved him in front of Kane so that I couldn't get to his point. And then he charged me in his turn. And I split his attack 6 and 6. There was 4 and a 5 man. I picked up both units, scored max on overwhelming force, moved on to his point, took primary, took the point for primary scoring, and swung the game like 9 points with that one move. Because he charged me.
What do you think his rationale was? You think maybe he was just trying to screen you out from going somewhere else, or
he was trying to get me? He was trying to stop me from taking his home field objective, and he didn't think I was going to remove all 9 bodies because we got a decent involvement. It's like 5, and so he would have to. Like, I didn't fail any of the wounds, so I wounded with 6 on each of them, or no, 5 on the 4-man got 5, and he passed 1 and failed 4, so all 4 died. And the other one, he had to make 6, and he failed 5 and passed 1 as well. So both units fell. I scored max on the secondary. I moved on to his point, scored primary, and my turn. And after that, it was too much for him to come back from. He drew Assassinate last turn. Kane was in the middle of the battlefield at full health. I was like, if you can kill Kane, you get Assassinate. So because he'd already picked up the auto-target at that point. But
it was full health.
Yeah, Kane was still full. Yeah, he hadn't been touched all game.
Rough.
I just want to note
that's rough to think that you could just want him.
Yeah.
Like, nah, you're not gonna one-shot him.
Yeah. So I just walked in the middle and said, and he's like, "Well, it win me the game." I was like, "No." He's like, "All right, I'm not worried about it." So, if he hadn't made that 9-point swing error, Assassinate would have given the win by 1 point.
Wow.
But you still got to kill King to do it.
Yeah. And he had a full Incubi unit with Archon. They're punchy, but I don't know if they're kill cannon 1 phase punchy.
Not by themselves, or not, they shouldn't be. They could, but they would be very, very well rolling for him and bad rolling for you.
Yeah. So after he made the mistake, he was just kind of beating himself up. He moved a Scourge out in the open to get into the middle and like turn 3, I think, and I overwatched with all my dragons, or not dragons, my Reapers. And I almost picked up the unit. I killed 1, and he saved the second one that went through. So he almost failed that, and he's sitting there, and it's like, I didn't have to move out in the open. Why did I move out in the open? He's like, I keep making mistakes, so. But we was very friendly, in the beginning. Like, he didn't place the Scourge right, but the intention was he was wanting him out of my indirect range, and so I was like, just move that guy back. I was like, because that was your intention, and I'm not going to play, like that. That was what you were attempting to do. So we was very, friendly when it came to that. Like, we was playing off intent very much, just because we play each other quite often. So it's not like we're trying to one up, or get work an angle or something like that. We're above that. So.
Absolutely. No. And those are the type of people that flourish in the game of 40K, right? As you see, there's a lot of people, very high competitive levels, right? We have individuals that are from the Art of War cloth that come down and play, how well they play, but they also have great etiquette, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually very synonymous with great players like yourself, right? You usually have very good, great game etiquette, and you're also a great player as well. Usually, though, see, you can't be a trifecta. I haven't found the trifecta yet, where you're a great player, you're a great game etiquette, and a great painter.
Right. I paint good enough to get my 10 points.
Exactly. Yeah, I haven't seen a trifecta yet. Not yet. Age of Sigmar has it, though.
Shriner's close. Shriner's a really good player, excellent painter, always a good sport. So
yeah, absolutely. Nice, man. So congratulations on your 4th win. So you're 4-0 at this point, right?
Yeah.
What was the final score to that game, if you don't mind me asking?
That one was 93-85, I think.
Because I asked just to I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I think it's 93-85. I'd have to check my phone, and I don't want it to mess up the stream if I try to minimize out and check the score, but I think it was 93-85. if I remember correctly.
I asked just to show people that like Drukhari still got it. Like this is an Eldar expert playing Eldar into Drukhari, and like you said, had he not made that mistake, which I don't even know was a mistake, like because you don't have a fallback and axe strat, do you?
No.
But in Garrett's defense, though, right? He's a specialist with Drukhari.
Yeah, but it shows what can be done. Because a lot of people look at Drukhari and go, "Oh, they're still really weak. They're still this." Was he playing the Index or was he playing Wager? Do you know?
He was playing Raiders, I think.
I'll tell you right now.
Yeah. With the Bombers, it seemed with the Chronos and Bombers, I thought it was Raiders, but
yeah. He did the charge because he didn't think I would pick up both units, and I score at the top of the turn. So if I don't pick up both units, I don't score that primary. I don't get those the 5 from there. That's 8 points there plus the it was 8 point swing, not 9. But I lose 8 points if I don't pick up both units.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and with having you said it's 6 and 6, you can roll 2 1s. You can roll a 1 to wound, and then all of a sudden 1 unit squad like it.
Well, I get to reroll the 1s to hit, luckily. So roll 2s to hit, reroll 1s, and then if I roll 1s to wound, though, that's the other. So
like that's I think I can't speak for him, but I've used that play with Tyranids with Gaunts specifically, and gone. You can't kill all of it, and I only need 1 to live to kneecap your next turn.
Right.
You just okay. The avatar just said, nope, this isn't a book. I get to win.
You're right.
no author bias.
Yeah. And then I drew into Old Faithful, Mike Muzzini, who always has my number. And the new T-Sons are good. They're really strong. I made a couple misplays, which could have swung the game. I don't know. We went back and played it again, and I did these changes. Maybe I win. Maybe I don't. I don't know. But my biggest mistake was he went first. He moved. He had 2 little robots on forward deployed near my side of the board. We was playing Terraform. He double moved goats onto the top objective to terraform there. He moved Mutalist Beast onto the bottom one near his deployment to terraform there. Spawn went to the middle to terraform there. And he just said, come take the points away or I won't score the rest of the game. And I did a bonehead move. I moved my Banshees, and he kind of baited it out of me. I fell for it. I should have just ignored the bait, but I don't know why I did it. I turned off Overwatch on the Banshees, forgetting I needed to get my dragons out near the Mutalist Beast to burn him, and he has Flamer template on one of his Overwatch guns, and I didn't get him out at all. Like, I should have got him out. Afterwards, he told me, he's like, I would have just gambled getting him out. It's 2d6 shots. He said, I could roll 2 shots or I could roll 12 shots. He said, but likely you still have enough dragons to probably lift the beast, and so that was my big mistake. I own it. We talked about it. So now I know what to do moving forward. I've also made a few changes where I don't have.
All that is just like, you didn't want to lose assets, right?
Yeah.
You didn't want to lose assets, and you didn't think you had enough, but now you know, right?
Yeah.
Now you know. Sometimes you just have to take those chances.
Yep.
It's like hitting Death Guard, right? And doing and talking about the epic challenge. Sometimes you hope, to hit that unit without spending a CP to kill the entire unit without having to do a decision, right? So
quick, this was the new mission pack, right? You were playing on?
Yes.
So terraform, if he does terraform, you still could have potentially terraformed it back, turns 2, 3, 4.
Correct.
So
just to clarify, he was just daring me to come out there and do the action to stop him. That's all. He put out some, 2 trade pieces, which he didn't carry loss, and the beast is just a big dumb animal that you have to deal with. Yeah. So my go turn was turn 2. I guess turn 1, kind of. So that was a mistake down the bottom. I moved my Shining Spears up to charge the other beast, turn 2. I failed a 6-inch charge. I'd use my CP, couldn't re-roll it. Kane picked up the spawn in combat. I failed to kill the beast on the bottom with the rest of my shots. Beast on top, I finally picked him up turn 3, I think. Yeah. And then he exploded and killed the 5 banshees that charged him, which stopped me from taking the midpoint from him. So he was able to hold the midpoint. If you hadn't blown up, I could have consolidated the banshees onto the point and taken that from him to keep the game a little bit closer. And then the bottom one could have been dead. I did use Kane's strat for the second game where he does flat 8 damage, and I did hit the beast with it, and he took six out of the 8, I think, after Feel No Pains. I think I might pass 2. I eventually killed him. I just took a little bit. The downside was he was able to kill Kane, I think, without firing a single shot. Because he double Doom Bolt grenaded him, and I think he picked up Kane with just those. It's hard to play big units like that when they can just, say, take all these mortals and he's gone.
Yeah.
Decide you lose existing privileges.
Yeah. So we're not going to play the game exactly the way it's played. It's better than it was before. At least you can fail Doom Bolt now because it's on up to 3 dice. You have to, I think you roll at least a 7. But you got 2 super Doom Bolts into Kane, and then you got like a 4 mortal grenade income. So wasn't a whole lot I can do about there. I just mitigated the game the best I could. Kept him in front of me, didn't let him get behind me. Ended up losing that one 70-96, I think. So I kept it close. It's probably my best game in the mic so far. I didn't go in nervous like normally and and maybe it's because it's a new book and I wasn't sure if it was going to play the way they used to. But Mike used to have a number with index T-Sons as well, and I knew going in, tip behind. Book, have you? No, I haven't. I played one other person with the new book, Braulio. So I kind of had an idea what things did. Mike's a little bit better pilot, of course.
Yeah.
But
that's
I got firsthand, experience into one of the top pilots of T-Sons in the country, and I learned from it. Like I said, the couple mistakes I made, if I don't do those, bonehead mistakes, maybe it's a different game. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I know what to do next time and what not to do. And I still feel it's a really good game. Still scored 70 on my loss. And I think that's it. It's a good game. Still got 4-1. My best GT finish so far. I thought I was getting 4th place because I was looking at Michael Mann's like all his games, and he played some really good players along the way, and I thought that their wins were going to push him just above me, but I ended up getting pushed ahead by, I think I looked up, it was like 0.02% on the path to victory or whatever the opponent win percentages of it was like ridiculously close, and so it's just by a hair, but I'll take it. It was a really good event, real fun as always, and about a week and a half, I'll do another GT.
Oh, yeah.
So, as always, I think
I'm going to end up having, 3 GTs and Crucible in 100 days total between the first GT and Crucible.
Oh, smokes. Yeah, you're going to stay a busy man.
Oh, yeah.
God, I envy you. So after this, you play the games you play, the experience, is there anything you think you're going to change? Did YOLO 9 bikes end up working for you, you think?
I'm keeping the bikes. The Demon Princes aren't going away, and they wound them on 3s, and it's AP2, AP3 in the unit, so you force everything on invulns or 5+ saves, if they don't have one. The only thing I'm changing is I dropped my Viper, my Warwalker, and an enhancement, and I'm putting Fugan in, and I'm putting in a Warlock on a bike just for actions.
Yep.
But Fugan allows me to stay outside of reactive move range, because right now the dragons, they get out so close that you can't really do a whole lot. So this allows me to drop outside reactive, inside lone op with the whole unit, or I can stay really far back to protect the unit and jumping back in at the end of the fight phase and just force them to have to come 20 some inches. And then if you shoot the vehicle, then I move it back another D6 on top of that. So I just, bait them, make them chase me down with it. And then if they chase the dragons down, then they're moving into the middle of the field where you have to deal with Kane and the bikes and the rest of my shooting.
Yeah.
So, so I like the changes, that I'm going to make. Very, very slight. The rest of the list played very well. I like my Reapers. The mirror match, they're devastating. In and out of the Falcon on the one Reaper unit, and then the two in the mirror, I usually, start them on the board. If they don't have easy targets for the indirect, then I usually start them in strategic and walk them on a board edge and shoot, the big shots at something that they can see. Kane plays well. The bikes played, they're not great, but they played well enough that I don't think I need to take them out of the list. I think 2 units is weird. I think you need to either run 1 or 3.
Yeah.
So it's one of those units where, like, a lot of times you can get away with 2, but I think with those, it's either 1 or 3 is the spot where you want to be. Banshees are always good. I use them as screening, and but now I have 2 units with anti-infantry, 3 units with anti-monster, 3 units with anti-vehicle, and then just a bunch of high strength flat 3 after that.
Yeah, I mean, it worked for you. You went 4-1 and came in second.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know that Riley was sweating. Riley didn't want to play me.
I didn't want to say nothing. I didn't want to say nothing publicly, but Riley did not want that smoke.
He told me. Like, we was playing around when I was playing Garrett round 4. I noticed that Riley was like right beside us in the aisle. I walked over to him. I was like, Riley, look, you can stand right here and watch how the game's going, so you know if your fate's determined or not. So he's going back and forth a little bit with having a good time. He's like, I was like, what do you do if we paired around 5? He's like, I don't know, go home.
Shout out to Riley, by the way. He ended up coming in second because he ducked Elfy with the Imperial Knight. Awesome kid, by the way. I always say kid, I mean man, right? But everybody's younger than me because I'm 144. So
no, I like everyone that shows up to your events. Everyone's awesome. Always have a great time. Never have a bad experience. So that's why I keep coming back.
Love it. Congrats, man. Congrats on everything you did. Amazing. Just watching you go through it. Watching you throughout time as well, throughout the months, right? With everything, the aspect hoes, the Ynnari, and kind of watching you kind of deal with Eldar being dominated by Ynnari. It's just really nice to you to get your glow up and get your flowers, man. So kudos to you, brother. Keep it up, man. Keep doing what you got to do and enjoy 40K, right? Like, that's the biggest thing. At the end of the day, enjoy playing the game, right?
Yeah.
So, do you want to hang out, brother? You're more than welcome to hang out. We would love for you to stay. You don't have to, but we're going to talk a little bit about Subterranean and how the meta's kind of shifted out. And you're more than welcome to hang out and talk about that stuff as well.
Yeah, I'll stay for a little bit, and then I gotta go because I get up here work at 3 a.m. So I'll hang out for a little bit though.
All right. So Riegel, how you want to start it off, brother? I know you have some opinions.
We can start with Subterranean Assault and then move into the segue into the general meta at large if that works. Yeah. Well, for those of you who don't know, it's the newest Tyranid detachment we got with the data slate. And it is filling in the last hole in the Tyranid Codex, not counting the Biotitans, which is all the snakes, the burrowers, the subterranean creatures, the Molochs, Trigons, Raveners, and now the new hyper-adapted Raveners.
Yep.
Those are your 4. Burrower keyword is a new Tyranid-specific keyword, and the army rule is... if you've ever played Portals, it's just Portals for 40K.
I stole that from you, by the way. I've been telling everybody that it's Portals.
It's what it is. Like, I saw it, and I'm like, it's just Aperture Sciences So it has 2 army rules, as most detachments do nowadays. And the first rule for this detachment,
except for Harlequins,
they only get 1.
We have no rules, dude.
What are you talking about? Yes, they do. He's lying. It allows you to take troop as battle line.
See?
Exactly.
We got a rule.
Which every other army auto gets that. We have to have a detachment rule for that.
Oh, hey, we have an attachment for warriors to be battle line. Okay, calm down.
Stop it, because I'm gonna end up jumping over a bridge. Off the bridge.
So the first rule for this detachment is anytime a Tyranid's model makes an attack, anytime, I just want you to keep that in mind, you reroll a hit roll of 1.
Crazy.
Just blanket reroll 1s for everything all the time.
Oh, so your
One
aspect
day.
of
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Then, each time a burrower unit from your army is set up on the battlefield from reserves, you place a 40 millimeter, which for those of you who don't know, that's the size of an objective marker. That circle in the middle of the neoprene mats, that's 40 millimeters. Or it should be anyway. A circular 40 millimeter tunnel marker anywhere on the battlefield within 1 inches of where that model came up, and more than 3 inches from enemy units. That's going to be important later. And then in the reinforcement step of your movement phase, when you set up unit on the battlefield from reserves, you can set it up wholly within 9 inches of that marker, which if you don't know what that is, get a 9-inch diameter circle and just put it on a 40K map. It is huge. Wholly within that 9 inches and more than 6 horizontally away from enemy units. And then the counterplay is if an enemy unit gets within 3 inches, which is why you can't spawn it 3 inches or closer than 3, they get to destroy it. So yeah, you come up with a Moloch. The Moloch does its emergence, mortals, and maybe some battle shocks, and then you get to place a marker down. And then from that marker, anything you have in reserves, gaunts, monsters, things that fly, it doesn't matter. They crawl up out of that hole. This was a trick we had back in 8th edition. The Trigon had this built in where it could bring an infantry unit with it when it arrived from reserves. That was just an army roll. It is insane. Elfy, I'm glad you're here. You play, Eldar, and they are the kings of mobility. Like I love Tyranids because they are jack of all trades, masters of none. And while we are very mobile, we are never more mobile than elves of any flavor, even the Harlequins. I don't know if that's true anymore with this detachment because these holes are insane.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, it's going to be a problem. You're probably going to pick up a lot when you come out, but it's the clapback you have to worry about. I think, so
Nope.
I think that will control how much you bring out because it will depend on how many models you want to pick up on my turn.
Yep, that is something I was telling Lewis yesterday. We talked, and I said, and I've been telling everybody like that you are still just a Tyranid durability stat line.
Yeah,
and like we heavy bolters can rip through most of our units. Like we are not hard to kill.
Yeah.
Like a Moloch looks scary until you have 10 heavy intercessors shooting at it with oath. It's dead. I promise you, it dies to that. So you are correct. There is almost nothing in here for durability. There is one thing, but it relies on you living through the clapback, which again is the baseline problem.
Right.
No, hold up. You have durability because you have a 6-inch low knob strat.
Not in detachment. Nope, that's Vanguard Invader.
That's right.
Yeah, we can't mix detachments, Lewis.
Hey, if you're allowing that at your events, please tell me because I will cherry pick six stratagems, 4 enhancements, and a detachment rule, and custom make my own high food.
Dude, I've missed those days of 5th edition, 6th edition. You could make custom armies, factions, and you select the abilities you wanted.
Yeah, remember those plus 1 OC 6-inch scouting Necron warriors? Wasn't that great? Super interactive and fun.
Hey, I want a super major with Space Marines. I'm happy.
Yeah, that no one's ever. You know what?
I was actually looking it up yesterday. It was, dude, in 2010, Bolter Beach, Sarasota, Florida, is when I won a singles. The last time I won a singles GT.
Elfy, you want to see something funny?
Yeah.
You want to know what I was doing in 2010?
What?
Graduating high school.
Let's see. 2010. I was like my first full year down here when I first moved here.
I know.
That being said, I've never won a singles, super major. So, who am I to talk?
It was in my heydays when I could do things like that.
There are 4 enhancements, like in all detachments. The notable one is the Trigon Prime. You give a Trigon. Yeah. The other detachment ability, it's not really a rule. It's an allowance. You can pick up the 2 Trigon models to be characters, which then can be given, excuse me, good lord, enhancements or be Major Warlord. You almost will never make one of them your Warlord because God help you if you go up against Imperial Knights. But you can give them
What's the worst
enhancements.
thing to happen? What's the worst thing to happen?
Turn 1, 5-up Fional Pain across a Knight Army.
Well, whose fault is that to bring it in turn 1?
Well, what's funny? You can do that with Vanguard Intellect. It's an 15-point enhancement.
I'm just saying. At that point, you made the conscious decision to bring in your Warlord turn 1.
Exactly.
Look, Tyranid players, we are known for a couple things. We're known for being hungry, for being passionate. Not me, but most of us being very good painters. We're not known for good decision making. We pick Tyranids as an army. Okay, that's passion project.
Just make sure you bring the Warlord in. It's near a Castellan and not like near an Armiger.
Yeah. This also has a redeploy enhancement, which is great because you want stuff in reserves to use your cool reserve rules with. And then the Trigon Prime, as I was saying, gives you Synapse, which gives you +1 strength, and then also, gives you +1 strength and improves your weapon skill by 1. So if you don't know the Trigon stat line, you now have 12 attacks at strength 11, hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, AP2, flat 3 damage.
Nice.
So if we rewind about 50 minutes where Elfy was talking about bikes that had 10 attacks at 3 damage, you now have 12 attacks hitting on 2s, rerolling 1 at strength 11.
What's the price point?
That would be I believe it is a 160 point model with the enhancement. Yes, 160 points.
With the
my 3.
Yeah, it's 140 base, 20 for the enhancement.
My 3 bikes are 110.
He
just one upped you. Just say
that's completely fine. Look. Unfortunately, you cannot make this thing much cheaper for what you're getting because it's gonna get ridiculous. Just to kind of highlight some of the insanity that this can do. Like I said, that's 3 of the 4 enhancements. 1's a redeploy, 1 upgrades a Trigon, 1 lets you come in turn 1, 2, or 3 regardless of the game rules. There is the 4th enhancement, which lets a unit rapid ingress or heroic intervention for 0 CP, just rapid ingress for 0 CP, even if you have. So you could, in theory, just bring a guy in turn 1, rapid ingress on top of 2 if you're going second.
Yeah. And
by the end of your second turn, have 3 or 4 holes just all over the place.
Oh, and not to mention do mortals because you're actually deep striking with whatever units that deep strike.
Oh yeah, no, the Trigon and the base Ravener unit are going to be the ones spotting the holes.
Yep.
And then and possibly the hyper adapted Raveners, because that Trigon Prime, the Trigon datasheet rule is they can come in 6 inches away, but then they can't charge because it was 3 inches, but the game wide nerf makes it 6. Well, now with this attachment, they can come in 6 away out of a hole and still charge you.
Yep.
So get wrecked.
Well.
Couple of other things that hit are the stratagems, and 40K players love to complain, love to give GW crap for their faction.
Yep.
No notes. The only crap I can give is that this is going to be taken away from us soon because this is insane. As many of you watching know, I am a dedicated Tyranid player. And I love this faction, and I love when we're good, but holy crap. To start, you can just give a Trigon or Moloch Synapse in your command phase, which doesn't sound great until you remember it's 1 CP plus 1 strength. So you can have another Trigon go from strength 9 to strength 10 just cuz. So those T5 3-wound Terminators, he's still hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s, but he's wounding on 2s now. And every unfailed save is a dead Terminator. Or 8-bound if you play World Eaters. So...
What is this? Is this personal?
Yes, it is. That is... Unfortunately, in 2010, I was also becoming friends with Anime Squirrel, and it's one of those. So,
got it.
We have been friends for almost 15 years now.
The romance.
Our only defensive stratagem, and I use that in very loose air quotes, is replenishing swarms. In your movement phase, you can pick one Tyranid from your army wholly within 9 inches of one of your tunnels, and it gets D3 plus 1 wounds. Unless it's a 1 wound model unit, then you get D3 plus 1 of those models back. Notably, it's in your movement phase, so you can't use it to swing primary. But also, you can give Old One-Eye D3 plus 1 wounds after getting D3 wounds in your command phase.
Yeah.
So, theoretically, you can bring up Old One-Eye 6 inches away, charge him, let him do his thing, rapid ingress someone to make another tunnel so it's wholly within 9 inches, and then he heals in your command phase, in your movement phase, and in your opponent's command phase, because it's every command phase on his data sheet. So he's 3d3 plus 1 healing. That's 7 wounds back on average. Good luck. Also, he's charging you again because he doesn't care.
Yep.
I think I want to play Tyranids, and I'm just going to use the holes you make. So I'm going to play Vanguard, but I'm going to use your tunnels.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. If I could pick and choose army rules, I would absolutely. As I was telling you about Gene Stealers, very similar to your bikes, I don't need to turn 1 charge you. I'll just wait till turn 2 and do 6-inch charge out of holes. Sorry, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit to in Fiddling Emergence. This is 1 CP. End of your movement phase, you pick 1 Tyrannid unit that was set up as a reinforcement. Notably, it doesn't have to come out of a tunnel, and that's going to be very important for a lot of reasons. But it can come out of a tunnel because that counts. Until the end of your next fight phase, because it's usually the end of your movement phase, you get Sustained 1 and Ignores Cover. So those 40 Gene Stealer attacks that hit on 2s, reroll 1s, and reroll 1s to wound if you're on an objective that have dev wounds now have sustained hits. Good luck.
At least they ignore cover in close combat.
Oh no, that I told Lewis about Old One-Eye. If you take 2 Carnifexes with them, they get between the 2 of them 24 Strength 7 AP2 1 damage shots plus 2d3 blast Strength 7 AP2 1 damage shots plus 10 Strength 5 AP0 1 damage shots. And if Old One-Eye's leading them, they get 4 rerolls and they hit on 4s.
Yeah.
You can give that strength, so it's an average of 28 Strength 7 AP2 1 damage, hitting on 4s, full reroll, sustained hits, ignore cover.
Gross.
Slightly less fun.
It might pick up a 5-man, Banshee unit.
Yep.
Well, they can still charge on One-Eye now. Gets full reroll to melee too. What's even funnier about this is the obvious choice that people have immediately gone to, which is good, is Zonethropes with a Neuro Tyrant leading it. So they'll hit on 2s because the Neuro Tyrant gives them +1 to hit, reroll 1s because of attachment, and now have sustained hits. So you have 6 Las Cannons, 6 Strength 12, AP3, D6 +1 damage shots with sustained hits, ignores cover.
Yep. That's big.
My favorite is the Harridan. Oh boy. This is why not coming out of tunnels was important. The Harridan can arrive because it's an aircraft, so it can't start on the board unless you hover, and you don't hover, it's bad. It has 2 guns that are Strength 10, D6 +6 blast, AP3 flat 3 damage. With a datasheet rule that says after you shoot, you can take D3 damage, or on a 2-up, take D3 damage to give your shots +1 to wound. So you declare the +1 to wound when you shoot, but you don't take the damage till after you're done on a 2-up. And because it's 2 separate guns, they can split fire, with the sustained hits, ignore cover. So like you were saying about hiding Kane in the middle where he can't be seen, well, what if there's an aircraft that has 2d6 plus 12, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1, sustained hits, ignore cover?
Yep.
Flat 3 damage each.
What if Kane uses a strat to throw his stick 18 inches at flat 8, and I spike my sustain hits 3 and do 32 damage?
Sir, I love that. I do, but here's the other problem. This is a 48-inch gun. I just won't be in range.
Stay away.
I will just pre-measure, 22 inches, 22.1, and go, no.
That's fair.
Do not get close.
But he can throw up to 28 inches because he can move, 30, because he can move 12 and throw 18.
I did the math wrong. You are correct. So you win. My heritage is dead. I'm sad. It's a bit skewy, but also the damage they can do is terrible. It can just rip through a Terminator squad.
Yeah.
Just putting both those guns or 2 Forge Fiends, it can more often than not do 12 damage to both of them, after saves and everything.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
And again, the Trigon Prime can get it. You can just give those 12 attacks that are strength 11, AP 2, 3 damage, sustain. The ignore cover doesn't matter, but you're hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s with sustain. It's 14 to 15 hits.
It's a heavy tax, though. You're paying 600 points, though.
Yeah.
For the Heritage. The Heritage is a meme choice.
Yeah.
I fully admit that up front. But also, it's a choice that you come in, you blow up your opponent, you blow up your opponent's 2 Vindicators. You are 47 inches away or even 30 inches away from the rest of their army, and you look at them and go, all right, shoot me with heavy bolters.
You're right, yeah.
I have 30 wounds. I don't care. Oh, and it brackets at 1 to 5 wounds, so it's not getting any worse.
Yeah.
Again, it's a meme pick. I want everyone to know you can spend that 610 points to get 2 Gene Stealer units with Broodlords and an Exocrine. That's the value you're giving up. But it's also, like I said, just insane on a myriad of other things. I mean, you could just give it to a Tranofex with the 2-shot cannon. Sure, you're rolling the dice a bit, but hey man, if you spike, you feel like a Votan player for a minute. I believe that is our only damage increasing strat. So we have one strat to regain wounds, one strat to do damage. All the other strats are about mobility, which is this detachment's greatest strength. The mobility is insane, which is why I said you're playing with portals, because wherever you want to be, you're going to be. Tunnel Network is great. Is 1 Tyranids unit from your army wholly within 9 inches of 1 or more markers. You remove it from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within 9 of another tunnel marker more than 6 inches away from all enemies. This is so good for so many reasons. One, it's just a reposition. Get out of here, you dwarf. No one likes. Look, we have an elf player here. How dare you? But so the critical thing here is 1 Tyranid unit from your army wholly within 9 inches. It doesn't say unless they're in engagement range of an enemy unit. And this is particularly funny for things like Bloodletters or Exalted 8-Bound.
Yep.
I believe Black Templars, I think it is, has a unit that can trap you in combat.
Yep.
So all these things that cause desperate escapes, or say you can't fall back on a 3-up or whatever.
Wolf Jail.
Wolf Jail.
Yeah.
Also guns, if they tag an Exocrine, for example, or a Tyrannofex and say just don't shoot.
Defiler? Wait, no one plays Defiler, never mind.
No. Now that it got a base, an obligatory base in it, nobody's bringing that baby car seat.
I guarantee you still see a couple of them in Mortarian's Hammer or Mortarian's Anvil. I bet you will. They will move it one time onto their natural expansion, and then they're like, you know what? We're Death Guard. We don't move anyway. We're just going to sit here and shoot you.
You know, I didn't even check if the construct got a base.
The Necron one?
The Necron, Scorpetic construct. Dude, the base would be like literally a pizza pie plate.
300 millimeter base.
It would be ridiculous.
If the Bio Titan doesn't have a base, I checked, but the Harridan does. And you know what the Harridan base is?
What is it?
Unique. That's all it says. Unique.
Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me?
On the official GW, it just says unique.
So, hey, I have a question for you, T.O. What's my correct base size? Because it says just unique.
I'm gonna come in with like a metal coat hanger folded down to give her like stickman legs and be like, it's unique.
Unique.
No modeling for advantage.
Put them
Just
on,
yellow card 'em.
Put each foot glued on styrofoam plates.
Look, at this point, if I don't get yellow carded at one of Lewis's events, I'm breaking tradition. I've been yellow carded at every one.
Not everyone. but a few. So how do you think, so with that being said, and I'm looking right now, right? I'm looking at the Edmonton Open, which it looks like they've changed their names from US Open to Warhammer Open now, since they've included other countries like Canada. But at the Edmonton Open, Tyranids didn't come into 52nd place, and they were playing Assimilation Squad for 52.
So here's, and I don't want to, it's not a problem. I'm going to call it a problem, but it's not like a bad thing. And I don't want people to think this is a bad connotation.
Yeah.
The problem with the Tyranid player base is, as I said before, we are very passionate people. We play what we like.
Yes.
You know, I as well, you know, you know, there is a certain level of, you know, min-maxing lists to do good at events.
Yeah.
But you can take 2 Tyranid players and we'll play, like, Assimilation Swarm is very hot right now. It plugs the hole of Tyranid durability with giving us a relatively on-demand +1 to wound through if you kill a Harvester unit for 1 CP for the rest of the game, we're +1 to wound you.
Well, you also see a lot of Norm emissaries in that list too.
Yeah, simulators, but yeah.
Or simulators here, rather, yeah.
Because they got the Harvester keyword, and they are one of our toughest bugs. The Norns, the Tyrannifex, and the Maliceptor are our 3 toughest bugs, not counting the Biotitans. And the only other thing that competes with them is Old One-Eye with 2 Carnifexes, an Invasion Fleet where you can give it a 5-up Feel No Pain. Other than that, like I said, we had like heavy bolters will down an Exocrine with, you know, Oath and +1 to wound. If you're playing like that, will kill it. We are not hard to kill. It takes a little bit of effort, but we're not, like Elfy was saying with Custodes, you overcommitting.
Yeah. You
can pretty well judge the damage and go, okay, you're dead.
Yep.
And part of this detachment is I think it's going to take people. This is a very mission play. It has a lot of flashy stuff like, oh, I can come out 6 of you. But like Elfy said, he pinged it immediately. All right, I'll take my lumps and then you're tabled. And that's how that is going to go, 100%. Yep. If someone comes up and says, hey, here's 1,500 points in your face right now, do something. Unless you killed 1,500 of theirs, every army in the game is going to do something.
Yeah.
Maybe not Imperial Agents. Every other army in the game is going to do something. Like you do that to the top like Death Guard or Thousand Suns, you're gone.
Yeah,
you're dead. Your markers are gone, and good luck winning the game with a Biovore and a Lictor. Because all you're gonna have left.
There's just a hole with smoke coming out of where all the Doom bolts went.
Exactly, you singed. This is very much a wave tactics thing, and you kind of got to, as mobile as it is, you can't be willy-nilly. It's like elves, right? Elves have, for the intents and purposes of playing 40k, infinite movement. It's not, but you can always be where you want by proper positioning and clever maneuvering. You don't always want to be there, though. And so there's going to be a skill cap on this.
Yep.
As well as, like I said, Assimilation Swarm is very popular. Invasion Fleet is kind of the Gladius of the Tyranid detachments. Yep. It's just good and easy to pick up for everything and has a lot of cushion if you mess up through a Feel No Pain, recursion of gaunts, stuff like that. Switching your detachment rule if you need to go kill a specific vehicle or annoying infantry unit. So, and Tyranids kind of fell out I don't know why, because these guys are insane. Particularly Vanguard Invader is insane. The damage you can do is just that detachment can really pump. And like you said, 6-inch lone op is just busted. The game is not meant for it. Like my solution to a lot of threats right now, like Elfy was talking about Fugan, I can come in, be out of reactive move range, but be within Melta and this and that. And I'm like, cool. 6-inch lone op, nerd. Don't shoot my lictor. His solution is, okay, I'll just never go after that lictor ever. I'll go over here and kill your other stuff. That's still what I want. Okay, cool. I'm going to get this primary. Don't interrupt me.
So I think what the Tyranids are going through right now with the new Subterranean is basically what World Eaters are going through. Subterranean, in my opinion, is probably a higher skill cap to play, right? They're going to be more fragile and more of a finesse, aggressive type of army, right? Yep. So they're not going to play up to their lack thereof of durability. They're not a D1. I wouldn't even say they're a D2 army at all, right? Maybe like D3 and defense. Maybe some shenanigans to move around. But World Leaders are the same ones. Like Berserker Warband is being used the most often because it's almost like Tesla. You just autopilot it. And then Demon Can is probably the better one and stronger. And nobody's really using it because it's a higher skill cap. It's probably the same thing with like Aspect Host with Eldari and Ynnari kind of being an easier kind of army to play with, right? Aspect, you have to kind of synergize a little bit. I would say like War Host is very similar to that. And of course, Harlequins being the hardest because if you can win with them, man, you're a champion. So that's my opinion, at least, right? I think the meta is shifting in a way where a lot of things are getting glow ups based on nerfs on different factions. So
I think that you will see. I'm just going to call your new detachment more portals. For old.
Yes.
And I think you're going to see a lot of them at mid and bottom of tables of brackets, and it shouldn't alarm people. It's going to take. Some people are going to pick it up because they just want to play it as neat, and they're not going to have the skill to do it.
Yep.
Other people are going to play it and not realize how to play it properly, and so you're going to see those people trend mid to lower for a while until they figure out how to use it properly, and then you're going to see them slowly start climbing, and then they're just going to appear out of nowhere, and you're going to wonder where it is. Oh yeah, portals. So that's just how it's going to happen, I think. I mean, some people, the smart, the really talented players, they're going to be able to pick it up from day one and just be like, I know how to do this. But, for others, it's going to be, a decent learning curve for them to be able to pick it up and properly play it and be, relatively competitive with it.
Yep.
The other thing that hurts, that doesn't hurt, I should say, complexes this is Tyranids are a combined arms mission play army.
Yep.
We, for as much as I was going on about the Carnifexes and the Harridan, we have very few one activation get the job done units. We are very much a 2 or 3 shooting units or shooting in a charge unit or, stringing together the stuff. So doing all, even the Trigon Prime on average kills an Armiger, but that means if I roll 1 or 2 extra ones or they roll an extra 5, they probably shouldn't have. Suddenly they're alive on 3 wounds.
Yep.
So, and that just happens.
Yep. That's why I think this detachment is big, right? The more portals, Elfy is calling it. I love that name. All right.
Yeah.
It's just, it's just gonna hit so hard, and it plays into your deficits, like you were saying, right? If you don't hit hard enough to delete a unit, but because you're coming out of portals now, you're gonna have multiple units to do it to delete those units a little bit more efficiently and quicker, right? That's the hope of this.
Do you want to know?
Having mortal wounds too makes it pretty nasty and easy.
Tyranids don't have a lot because we don't have access to tank shock or grenades, so we have very, very limited mortal wound.
And but you have rerolls now.
Do you want to know the most devious part of this attachment? I've saved the most underhanded part of this for last.
Yeah.
It is the fact that these tunnels have to come up 6 inches away from enemy models.
Correct.
Gargoyles can come out of tunnels.
Yes.
And do you know what gargoyles do after they move?
Don't they
They
reactive
move.
or something?
They shoot and move flat 6 inches.
Ah,
So what
that's
that
right.
means is, if you put yourself on a puck and say you can't, even if you deep strike, you can't touch the objective. I
Yeah.
say, okay, that's fair. I'll just come out of a hole 6 inches away, and oh look, there's 12 OC on your objective now. Unless you are blocking out the whole edge, you cannot stop a Tyranid player, if they're clever, from stealing your primary.
I like that.
Because that also happens in the shooting phase, where you can't overwatch them. So, yeah, and it's that is the most devious trick this detachment has, because if you bring 1 or 2 units of Tyranids, you can just stop them from scoring primary turns 1 or 2 and 3. They just won't get it.
Anime's such a purist. He's like, I'm excited to see Tao, not Crew and Sisters rise up too.
Look, he hates Brute.
I know. I know. He's such a purist though. But you know what? I get it. Like, no knock on him at all. But currently, Tao with Crew are freaking amazing. Are really, really strong. Just saying. Yeah. And I know he doesn't have. You don't have to, and no one has to play them to be competitive. Play what you like. But I'm just saying, man, it's nice. It's nice to get out of the realm. Like, I just bought into demons. I didn't want to do demons, but why not?
I will say to Elfie's point, you are going to see 100% people running all snake lists now. You're going to see 15 Raveners, maybe even 15 hyper-adapted Raveners, 2 to 3 Molochs, 2 to 3 Trigons. You're just going to see all snakes all the way down. Because you can make Trigons characters now, you can actually do the all-snake meme list.
GW just needs to hurry up and start dropping these boxes, dude. Like, the wait time on all of these box sets that need to come out for people to complete their armies out this needs to hurry up.
I am hopefully getting mine on Saturday, and I will have 5 hyper-adapted Raveners, and that's all I need for mine, because they are a premium. Also, just one small point I don't understand for Tyranids. Why is it we can never just get a cheap, simple character? The hyper-adapted Ravener Prime is a character, but he only comes in the 165.5-man unit.
Woo! Pricey.
What the? Why? Why can't I just buy one of him and put him in the 125 point, or like that goes up and down? I don't know.
Just like one cheap brain bug or something like that would be nice. Yeah.
What is cute is you could take that unit, lead a Ravener unit, and now you have a unit that has sustained hits, goes up and down automatically. I don't know why you want to do that with a 10-man 40mm base unit, but you could.
True indeed. All right, go ahead, brother.
Just one last thing for everyone so you don't forget. Raveners are still Vanguard Invader, which is also something, and their data sheets are being updated. So even if you see Raveners, it may not be. Also, Molochs and Trigons have Vanguard Invader. So just because you're seeing snakes doesn't mean it has to be tunnels. It could also be the other detachment. That's all.
Nice. No, nice breakdown. I'm excited to see him on a tabletop, just like I was excited to see EC. I don't know. I'm just a 40K faction fan, and I like the underdogs when they're not performing well, just to see them perform well. When you don't see it, right? Like, you don't. Yeah. How often, Elfy and Riegel? How often do you see AdMech?
I don't know how. I don't know that many people have the kitty favor.
Huh? Exactly. Who? What?
I seen it at teams. It was interesting at teams because you can play a SKU list for something like that. But outside teams, I really don't see them.
Yeah.
Unless it's Richard.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. I will say, great segue into 40K meta. I like where the meta's at. I like these new codexes. Like, I'm excited for Chaos Knights. Knights is a terrible matchup for my army personally, but I like the flavor they've really put. Like, Chaos Knights went from having one detachment for 3 years, with not only one list for 3 years, to now they have 3 to 4 viable detachments, whether you're in singles or teams.
2 of them are going to end up being very strong at the end competitively. But yeah, I'm happy for that too.
And I know some people have been kind of down on the toughness to wounds thing, but I'm even if you take the old War Dog spam list, you're getting 28 extra wounds across the army.
That's what I'm saying. on average they drop like 20%.
Yeah.
In point.
Yeah, it's depending on your build. You could get 2 more war dogs, or now you can fit 5 big knights.
Yeah,
5 good big knights,
or 6 if you're IK.
If you're what?
Wow.
I think it was Imperial. You can get 6 bigs. There's a 6 big list.
Yeah. So like you, and like I've talked to Anime. He's a burgeoning Chaos Knight player, and I my guess is Chaos Knights are going to hover around like 51% win rate. I think they're still going to be the same, bottom to mid-table terrors, just on the fact of their numbers are bigger than yours, and some people don't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
And then even high-level players are going to be able to like flex the options they've been given to, skew victories through skill and just experience.
Someone said it today too. I was watching something. Someone said it today too, though. But they play like an army now.
Yeah,
which is nice. Instead of being a stat check, right? Instead of having people having to worry about punching up to you, now you actually play like an army. You do things, which is nice.
Yep. And like you said about Emperor's Children, I think they're fine. Maybe a bit limited on optionality, but they're fine. Death Guard, I personally think they could take 100 points out of their list and be better, but they're not like 65% win rating across the board. So
true indeed.
My you've been questioning us. I'm going to put the pressure on you for a second. How you feeling about orcs? There's been a lot of chatter about them lately.
Well, my favorite orc list is currently what we have for speed freaks, right? And them giving speed freaks that advance in charge, which they already had fallback in charge, but they give them advance in charge. I really like that. They're always giving orcs crazy mechanics, but we go back to the forever issue, right? It's that you're going to have to put so many copters and buggies and just models in that list that are literally just immovable objects, right? Can't move through ruins, screens, things like that. So you just become a big-ass parking lot. It becomes a challenge to play with that list. So I like what they're doing with orcs for that detachment. I don't like what they've been doing for everything else. Because it seems like, to be honest with you, it seems like everything is going back into index form. Even orcs. Orcs are back to Warhorde. Like, that's their most competitive thing now. Right? So, I guess, man. I mean, if index is always going to be the best, then we would never need codices, right? Why purchase codices when the index is always going to be the greatest? So, but I mean, I like the direction that they're going with orcs, in the sense of they're trying to make sense of these detachments that don't work, but they're also kind of screwing the other ones in retrospect. So I like that direction where they're thinking they're doing, but they're just messing it up. So same thing for World Eaters. I'm back to index. Berserker Warband is the one, right?
I mean, yeah, no, I think that the Demonkin detachment is also very good. Yeah. But that's my partiality towards demons. Like I just don't see how you go wrong with Scarbrand and like just oops 1 into 8 bloodletters, which again not really there for the damage. They can be, because straight 6 AP 2 damage is not nothing. But also it's just like, hey, here's a bunch of OC2 with like no limitation.
Yep.
So
yeah, I think the meta's looking real good. John Lennon just won with Emperor's Children over the weekend at the Edmonton Open. And I mean, we had Eldar at the GT, we had Imperial Knights, and we had Thousand Sons. Great variety. I love the variety in the meta right now. Except for that 1 week where it was Ultramarines and more DACA. Right? It was those weeks where it was just like a column of just top 6 with more DACA or Ultramarines. Other than that, I love the meta right now, man. I think it's great. I think the Challenger cards are not going to matter in a while.
I think I said it before, last week. I think they're going to matter at mid tables the most. People who don't really, where one person is clearly a better like skilled player than the other and can like maximize them. But like at Elfy's level, your people who finish top 8s regularly, they're at that point. That's something that you have the experience. Okay, I need the points, or oh wow, I really need to make the push. I need the strat, and I think in teams it's going to matter massively. I think in singles, if you lose by a challenger card, it was already a close game to begin with. So like, who's mad at that?
Yep. You got anything, Elfy, before we head out on your conclusion or kind of your feelings on the new chapter Pro 2025 meta?
No, I like the new missions and the new secondaries. They cleaned them up a little bit, got rid of some of the less desired missions, and just kept it very streamlined, very simple. But they still printed the cards for the people that still want to play those missions, and so that's great too. So that way it doesn't feel like they're only catering to like one aspect of the game. And because we all play competitively, that follow this channel for the most part, but we got to remember there's tons of people that play casually and don't play just hyper competitive like we do. So I'm glad that they cater to both. It keeps them involved as well. And maybe one day they jump over the fence and try to competitive side and see if they like that as well. But keeping those options there keeps them in the game as well. Challenger cards, they are what they are. I mean, I don't think they're going to win you the game. It's going to take more than just 3 points a battle round to win the game back for you. You're going to really have to make a push, or dice are going to have to get hot, or they're going to have to get cold. Or make some, really good, moves to get back in the game. Will they edge out an opponent every now and then? Yeah. But to really get back in the game, it's going to take more, your primary and secondary game play to get back into the game.
Or very bad mission like hidden supplies potentially, or terraform.
Yeah.
A lot of people hated those over the weekend. So I'll continue to evaluate those. But what did you feel about those two missions? And then continue on. I apologize.
Oh no, I didn't mind any of the missions. Like, I understand that people don't like the missions, but it's the hard missions that bring out the good players. Like, if you can't play the mission, then maybe you need to practice more. At the end of the day, because you can't just play the missions you're good at. You have to play the missions you're not good at too, to make you a better player. So, I'm just glad we don't have ordnance. So.
How have you hated Purge the Foe?
I don't mind Purge.
Just tell him. He'll listen to you.
I love Purge. As long as I don't play Purge when I play Mike Mazzini, I don't care.
To what you said, I've practiced it the most. I've never lost it at an event, but God, I hate playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I was playing and I was like, I score 4. He's like, no, you don't score it on first turn. I was like, you can kill 1, you just can't kill more. And he's like, no. And he's like, oh, would you look at that? Yeah, just listen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but no, I didn't have a problem with any missions. It's just a matter of getting used to them. And the people that don't like a mission, they just, have to understand that, sometimes you have to play the missions you don't like. It makes you a better player at the end of the day.
Yep. I love your attitude about it, by the way. I love your attitude about it. It's my same attitude, but because I deal with people, right?
Yeah.
I have to be like, I got to be there for them. I got to be there for them. Yeah,
but at the end of the day, like, I've always felt that way. Like, I like it when the hardest missions are in the last 2 rounds, because it's the people playing for the tops, and you find out who are your rock stars, and you find out who still need to a little bit of work, because if you can't play the hardest missions, then it's not like you can always play the just take and hold every game and just play annihilation for the most part with secondaries. You have to be able to play all these different missions. You have to be able to know, the proper way to play it, when to do this, when to do that, to give yourself the edge, and at the end of the day, like when I used to play Ritual, there's games where I didn't do any rituals because late game they hurt me. And so I just did a couple of them early game, and then I just beat them on secondaries. And
now it's bananas. Now, if both players walk out of that game without 50 primary, they were brain dead.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy just to get 50 primary on that now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So no, I didn't have a problem with any missions. I always like seeing other armies get a glow up because at the end of the day, I want everyone to have a competitive list, an army, and not list, but army. I don't want. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to. I hated Index Eldar, where I went into games thinking there's no way I lose this game. Like, I think that there should always be a thought in the back of your head that I can easily lose this game. And I think that, if everyone's between that 45-55% range, it's a very healthy for the community, very healthy for the game. And I love seeing it that way. And, and I liked in this last slate where they actually changed rules because points wouldn't fix the units, so they actually went in and actually made rule changes to make the unit usable, because sometimes adding points and cutting points isn't going to be enough.
You're right.
Sometimes
you just have to press reset. Go ahead, bro.
I second everything you said, Elfy, particularly about the missions. I joke about Purge the Foe, but I say that's my most practiced one because it is actively harmful to my army, so I have to learn how to play it, navigate it. And on to your point about armies being good, a great example from this slide is Sisters.
Yeah.
They got a detachment change, points changes, and some of their units' functional datasheet rules and activations change as well. And I love that. I love, I know what I put into my army, so I can only, assume and empathize with the person across from me has put in to play that game. And as much as I agree with you, I want armies to be competitive. I want people to have fun.
Yeah.
Because, I hate armies, and a good example for a large part is Grey Knights right now. Grey Knights are very competitive, but oh my God, are they the just unseasoned slice of toast of 40k armies?
Yep.
It is the players are, they are cooking up some magic with what they got, but what they got is 3 data sheets and a trench coat.
It's true.
So that's what they. I mean, that's why I really like these newest books. The World Eaters, Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Chaos Knights. They're competitive and there's flavor. You can, other than Emperor's Children, go multiple ways with it. Thousand Sons can go all goats, and it's it might be one of the best detachments in the game. Not even in their book, just the game period.
Yep.
Who would have thought Goat Spam would have been a real contender? And after seeing what happened to Slanesh and Emperor's Children, who would have thought that Corn Demon King would have been duking it out for first place in the Codex?
Yep.
Right.
So it's in a like I said, Chaos Knights. You can take all bigs, all small, or a mix, and all 3 of those are viable. And if you're in teams, the 4th one opens up that is just anti-other Titanic.
Yeah.
You're running Knights or Chaos Knights? Well, I hit you harder and I have more OC than you, so get wrecked. Being Eldar as well, they have 2.5 reasonable detachments. Host and the fact that no one runs Windrunner is insane to me. I look at
I think Windrunner's probably 4th. I think Aspect and Warhost jump back and forth between 1 and 2. Just depends on your play style. And then I think Seer Council sneaks in at 3. And then I think that Windrider's probably behind that.
Every time I go back and look over Windrider, I'm like, why is no one doing this? This is insane. But
even with the nerfs, I think the Windrider and Ynnari are probably side by side. I know Ynnari got hit, but they still have some decent rules that, if they're not, going to be number 1, number 2, they could still fit in number 3, number 4. And I know, one of the guys that I ride with over to Orlando when we go to the tournaments, he just keeps changing things, trying to make it work because that's what he likes playing, and so we'll see you again, in a couple weeks because he's joined me again in Orlando for that one as well, and make some changes and go about it again.
My last question, both in general and to you, since we have you here, I noticed you didn't mention the Wraith Construct attachment. Is that just at the bottom by itself?
Yeah. No. I think that probably Armored Warhost is at the bottom clearly.
Oh yeah, I forgot it existed, so certainly it is.
Yeah.
And then I think Guardian's probably above that, and then I think Wraiths are probably better than Guardian for my play style. Eric plays them well, and other people do as well. my problem with Guardian Warhost, the Guardian detachment, is that you're buffing two of the worst units in their book. You're buffing Dire Avengers and Guardians, and neither of them want to be good.
Exactly.
I use one unit of Guardians, and it's only so I can stick in my home field if they don't have deep strikes, and then they go on an adventure.
Yep. Sounds like Jackals.
Yeah. That's the only reason I have. If it wasn't for their sticky, I wouldn't even bring them.
Sounds like Jackals. Yep. I've heard that plenty.
True indeed. Dude, Jackals do work for me, though. Like, I use my Jackals completely different now. I use them as, like, the screening aggressor units to go with my A-bound. And 9 out of 10 times, people don't even fuck with them. They just leave them alone. And I'm like, that's a mistake. That's what's stopping you from charging everything and shooting everything else.
Apparently, I had one more question, but I blame you for this. How insane is it that like all Jackals is also somehow a reasonably viable attachment?
Yes.
Like,
that's a madman. Whoever can do that, it's crazy.
All Jackals, one Prince, and the Lord of Skulls, and it's like, sure, like it's kind of a meme, but also like you beat it. You go into that. Yeah.
Going into that is just crazy. But yeah, man, the meta is looking really good, it's shaping out great. So, healthy. I'm happy. I hope they continue to work on it, not triple, quadruple, quintuplet nerfing shit. But I'm happy, man. I really am.
So everyone, next time on the chopping block.
Yes,
this should get nerfed. There's no way it's not.
We'll see. We'll see. It took a while for Yunari. It's still
it's
what,
true.
7 months. 7 months.
When the thing that makes you OP is infinite movement, they tend to ignore it because you're not killing people. So
we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, you keep your glow up and you keep that buff for as long as you can, man.
If this doesn't change by Crucible, I'm running it. I'm calling it. I'm not doing Vanguard Invader. I'm running this.
Do it.
But that's all I got for the night. I think it's been a great conversation.
Yeah. Everyone have a wonderful night. Elfy, you got anything to say before we go? Tell everybody goodbye. Regal, goodbye.
Yep. I'll see you guys later. That's all I had. I think we covered a lot tonight, and hopefully we get on another one of these. We'll see in a week and a half. If I do well again, maybe we'll be talking again then.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Also, I added his army list into the YouTube description section, so everybody knows that he was a special guest today. And also his.
Oh no!
He's very animated. You probably screenshot that.
Someone screenshot this and sent it to him on Facebook. Well, thank you, Elfy, for coming out, hanging out. I know it's late. It's past my bedtime personally, but I have a phone.
I don't got to be up for like 5 hours. So
7 for me. So But
there we go.
There we go.
Right. Yeah, lost it for a second. Connection is storming out here in Tampa, man. I don't know.
What do they call it on news state? Talk vamping. We were just vamping while you were gone.
All right, we're out of here. Apparently, YouTube doesn't want us running it anymore. So sorry, guys, for all the technical issues. But yeah, have a wonderful night, everyone.
Right. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.